What's up, everyone? It's your favorite marketer and podcast host. My name is Prit. I am the author of Zero to Four Figures, a podcaster, YouTuber, Etsy shop owner, and a Skillshare teacher. All the links are in the description box below if you'd like to check it out. On this podcast, I bring in experts to give you actionable steps on various marketing, business, and mindset strategies to help you grow the business you love. Today, I have one such expert with me, Mr. Jeff Cohen. Jeff Cohen, founder of 6 businesses, is the author of Count on Able. His book is about new and rapid success framework that guides CEOs to make this happen. Jeff has worked with dozens of corporate giants, and he holds the unique distinction of being called radioactive by Mr. Wonderful himself, Kevin O'Leary, on Shark Tank. It took 8 years working with over 300 CEOs, business owners, and entrepreneurs to develop, test, and implement the Count on Able method and patent pending process. I'm super excited to have Jeff with us today. Jeff, how are we doing today?
I am amazing. It is such a pleasure to meet you, and I'm grateful to be on your show today with all your listeners. And I'm aiming that they get something they can take with them that's actionable today. So so let's jump in.
Absolutely. So Jeff, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did your entrepreneurial journey start? I mean, you've worked with dozens of corporate giants and you've also had 6 businesses. So tell us how it all started and what was the thought process behind your book?
Well, it all started a long time ago. I was sitting at my kitchen table writing letters to all of the sports teams asking them to send me stickers. And lo and behold, mail started showing up. I figured I would get like 1 or 2 or 3. Instead, they sent me 10 or 20 or 30. Like I had a pile of stickers would just choke a horse. By the way, I was 8 years old.
Oh, wow.
And I got this huge pile of stickers. I said to my mom, Mom, I want to put them on that wall. And she said, no, they're not going on the wall. So I didn't take a chance on asking her if I could put them on the car. Instead, what I did is I put some of them on my notebook and I went to school. And my friends loved these stickers. I mean, they were really colorful and shiny, and they were their favorite sports teams, right? And then someone said, do you have any more? I said, do I have any more? Or do I have some more? Well, can I buy one from you? And that turned into the sticker business, and I made $50 at 8 years old. And my dad looked at me and he says, Jeff, you are an entrepreneur. And I said, wow, that's amazing. What's that? My dad shared with me, he says, if you're an entrepreneur, what it means is you get to decide where you go in your life and what you do in your life and how you do it in your life. And I thought, wow, I want that. And now he was, a giant in corporate America. He was an executive at Playtex and worked in there on the 80th floor of the Empire State Building in New York City. And, but when he left and we came to LA from New York in 1971, he became a stockbroker. So that was his version of being an entrepreneur. My uncles had their own business, a chemical and lighting company, and they had an exit for like $6 million in the 70s, which was enormous back then, right? Still not a bad exit for today in today's standards either, right? But what I got clear on was I wanted that. I really wanted that feeling of control. And so I've lived into that for my whole life ever since. And when I say I've started 6 companies, I have. And I've had tremendous success, but my failures have been even bigger. And it doesn't matter how much you succeed. What really matters is the difference that you get to make for people. And today, I'm going to share candidly with you and the audience about my failures, maybe some successes too. Those are worth hearing. But, you know, out of a failure, there's something you can take and learn from and do something with. And so, you know, I'm on a mission, right? It's to empower people, have people be in control, right? Have people have companies they're really proud of that other people want to be part of. And that might be as an employee or as a customer or as a vendor.
Absolutely, Jeff. And I think that I have spoken to many, many, many entrepreneurs in the last 3 years. And I think that one thing that unites all of us is we sort of knew this was the path we wanted to take. I mean, I knew this from a very young age. You knew this from a very young age. I think it's one of our inherent traits that we are inclined towards that path. And I absolutely loved hearing your story. It makes me understand you a lot better. And so, how did Jeff the entrepreneur, age 8, come to Jeff to where you are today, the entrepreneur, the serial business owner that you are today?
So first off, I just want to be clear, stories like that are all in my book.
Okay.
Like every chapter, there's about 55 chapters.
Wow.
You know, that sounds like a lot, but really it's not. Every chapter is like 3 or 4 pages long.
Oh, okay.
I wrote it for people like me that have ADD
Okay.
and like to multitask, right? So you can pick it up in like the first chapter, Grand Theft Auto. You could just go to my website, counthonorable.com, and download it.
Absolutely.
And then you'll get a sample of like, well, first off, why did Jeff steal a car? And you'll also get a lesson out of that I learned. And we'll talk a little bit about that lesson today because what I really got out of that particular story is we all have triggers. And when we do, things tend to go awry.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm going to put the link in the description box below for anyone else out there who's interested to know more about Count on Able. But now, Jeff, let's talk a little bit about why you started writing Count on Able and what exactly is it going to be about, or what is it about and how is it going to help other people out there?
Right. So first off, you know, one of my companies I started, we grew from nothing to 50 people in the period of 2 years. And we were like on track to be an 8-figure business, and things went really, really well until the financial crisis in 2007, when all of our customers were up for renewal. And they were all like Fortune 500, Global 2000 companies. But they were up for renewal. And out of that renewal came some comments like, hey, we love you guys. You're amazing. You're fired. And that happened with every single one of them. So I went from having this enormous business and investing a lot of money in writing software to shift from services to software to nothing. And I went through a real personal journey where I was very depressed. A lot of people don't know, like, how do you know you're depressed? I had no idea. But my actions were different. Like if I had just been able to look at my actions. So just think about it, right? If you're depressed and you're sitting in front of Star Trek for 8 hours a day, and
yeah, that's
like
a sign.
really leaves the house,
Yeah, that's
doesn't
definitely
come
a
back
huge sign.
until it's time to go to bed. There's something going on. Like people don't want to be with you, even in your
Yes.
family. There's also like this thing where we want to make believe we're actually not depressed. We want to look good,
Absolutely.
but then people say to us, hey, Jeff, you seem kind of out of it. Have you thought about talking to someone? And you just poo-poo them because, well, they don't know me. They have
Absolutely.
no
Yeah.
idea what's going on in my head. Sure, I'm not getting any sleep because I'm worried I'm not going to make payroll, but I'm going to sit
Mm.
in front of Star Trek for 8 hours a day. Um, so, that was a real impact in my
Mm.
life. And when I had to shut the business down and let 50 people go, it really hurt
Mm.
because I viewed myself as responsible for all of those people. Now, a lot of people that are solopreneurs are going to listen to this and say, well, that's exactly why I don't want employees. I don't want that responsibility. I this, I that, I the other. And then some of those people are going to turn around in the next breath and say, but in 3 years, I want to sell my business for $3 million.
Mm. That's such a
Right?
contradiction.
It is, right? I don't think people get like the business that you own and run and build for yourself, it's not sellable.
Mm. That's true.
No, I'm
Yes,
not going to
that's
come in
true.
and buy your business if you're not going to be there.
Absolutely.
I might invest in you,
Yes,
right? But you better stick around.
absolutely.
A lot of people that do want an exit from a business, they don't do the research and see that um, most of the transactions that occur with an individual owner have what's called an earnout,
Mm.
where the owner has to stick around for 5 years or some period before they get all the money.
Hmm.
And what happens is they never get all the money.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's surprising.
Well, they don't have the patience to stick it out,
Oh, yeah, that makes more sense. Yes, yes.
right?
Hmm.
Because they've been a solopreneur.
Absolutely. That's
So what
true.
being countable is it's a method that enables you to be whatever you want to be
Hmm.
and empower other people. So when you do bring other people on, now you've got a roadmap and a guide. Just consider it your yellow brick road
Hmm.
to having a business that grows with you and even better without you.
Oh, that's really nice. But first, before we get into, accountability, I think we need to first talk about what is accountability and what is accountability for solopreneurs.
Well, so I'm going to read you the definition I put in the book. So being accountable, this is my definition based on working with over 300 CEOs and their companies. Accountable, a disempowering state that has employees feel as though they are on the hook to deliver something, regardless of their ability, desire, or the impact on the daily workload in their current jobs. So just think about that for a minute. You're accountable, someone's telling you you're accountable, then there's some mechanism later. It might be a phone call at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday right before the long holiday weekend, where the boss calls you up and says, Prit, you said you were going to do the laundry. It's still sitting in the dryer. What is going on with that? When is it going to be done? I need it. And you might be in the middle of a customer call or working on a time-sensitive customer project. You might be totally checked out because it's a long holiday weekend and you've got plans. A lot of mights, right?
Yes.
Now you're put on your heels, right? You're now in a defensive posture.
Right.
By the way, one of the reasons why a lot of people want to be in their own business is because of that. They love to be on an effective team, but they really don't want to be put on the
Yes.
spot like that, uncomfortable.
Yes.
And we wonder why we've got the great resignation happening right now.
Right now,
Where
yes.
40% of people in jobs
Yes.
in the United States are considering leaving.
Yes.
40%.
That's insane.
Anyway, so that's what being accountable is. And I worked with 50 companies. I took a program called the Team Management Leadership Program. And when I did that, it was a 2-year program, but in the very beginning, what I did was I got 50 CEOs and executives together and business owners, and we looked at what the common thread was that wasn't working in our businesses. And, you know, there's some things I noticed. First off, I was a lousy boss. And when I say the word boss, I don't use it as a term of endearment. I was a dick. I didn't treat people the way I wanted to be treated. I didn't operate from, you know, elevating people to their being their best selves. We had something companies wanted. We hired people. I was cocky. I'm like, yeah, you're lucky to work here. Like shit like that. I was a schmuck. It wasn't good. But I noticed that, and that's why I got these other CEOs together, and we found the one element, the one common thread. And, you know, you're in marketing, you'll appreciate this. People all have a different definition of effective communication.
Absolutely. That's 100% true. Yes.
So, yeah, so when you define effective communication, you know, you go through in your head and you think, oh, you know, I told them, they said, yes, we're good. But that's not the way effective communication works. So I'll read you another definition from the book. So effective communication is knowing what you said has been heard with the other person who heard it demonstrating their understanding by repeating it back to you.
That key word of demonstrating is absolutely essential there, because it's a two-way thing. I think that's what your definition is communicating. It's that effective communication is a two-way street. It's not that, okay, well, I've communicated this, so I'm an effective communicator. No, it has to be understood and replicated back to you. And that's when you understand you are an effective communicator. Did I get that right?
That's true. And so I'm going to share a short story with you to help everybody get the effect of effective communication. Sure. And I want you to listen to this story because this is something in your life, not just in your business. Like, people read this book and they get something for their life and for their business, right? I did all of the work on me and all the programs I've done so that my business would be better. Like, I would have a more effective, more profitable, more business. But every time I did something for me, I found there was actually more that occurred in my life with family and friends to improve it than in my business. So, and I told you a story that just happened this morning, so I'm not going to air it today. I'm going to tell you one that's, I think, even more impactful because it makes me cry every time I tell it. So my wife and I are foster resource parents. We have a 1-year-old and we have a 3-year-old. They're both girls, and the 3-year-old just came to us this month. But a few months ago, we took the 1-year-old to visit some friends in San Diego, and we stayed with them. And our wives had something to do that night, so we took the girls to dinner. My friend had this really great wagon. We put them both in the wagon and we started pulling because it was only a few blocks. And we had dinner. The girls were playing in the wagon, and it was great. We went from dinner to frozen yogurt for dessert. And we're almost at the frozen yogurt shop, and I look back and I turn my head and I see my 1-year-old, and she's standing up in the moving wagon, and she has tears streaming down her face. She is scared. You see, at 1, she doesn't have the ability to stand yet. Not and know that she can sit back down safely. So I had my friend stop the wagon, and I picked her up and comforted her. I put her back in the wagon, and I turned to the 7-year-old and I said to her, "Hey, honey, I'm just curious. Did you notice that she was crying and standing up?" She said, "Yeah, I told you."
Oh.
That's what I said. Oh, I said, hey, can I ask you a favor? She goes, sure. If that happens again, can you make sure that I answer you and you hear me answer you? She said, these are the two words. Like, one definition of effective communication goes like this. Got it. And then her head went right back to her video game and her fingers started moving on it, all that again. So now this is where, if you're dealing with vendors or family or employees, you can just simply say something like what I did. I said, hey, I'm curious. What'd you get? And her finger stopped moving.
Right.
And I watched 5 seconds go by, nothing. 10 seconds went by, still nothing. About 15 seconds went by. She picked up her head and looked at me. She said, you want to make sure that I hear you answer me. Something happens like that. And I said, yeah, that's exactly what I would like. Thank you. Now, that's not the part that makes me cry. A month later, we went back to visit. And we were at their house, and she had some friends over. And she came up to me and she said, can we play with her? And I said to her, do you remember that conversation we had in the wagon? And without a heartbeat, she said, yeah, you mean where you want me to make sure I hear you answer me if I call out for you? She really got it.
Oh, that's so beautiful. At such a young age too, she understood. She understood what you meant.
Well, it wasn't that she understood. It's that it stuck. Right?
Yes.
How often do we ask people to do something and it doesn't stick?
Right. Yes.
It sticks for a while
And then
it stops sticking, like the story I told you this morning. The point is that we have it in us to own that situation.
Yes, that's beautiful.
We have it in us to just accept nothing is perfect, and that's okay. But if we treated other people with the kind of respect and caring that I just shared with you, what are the odds they would come back and want to work with you again? What are the odds they would say, this is the best place to work, or this is the best client I have, or this is the best whatever?
Yes, absolutely.
That's what's missing in most environments today.
I absolutely agree. I 100% agree with that, because I see that in the way, in other businesses that I watch and observe as well. And I do agree that effective communication and accountability, those are things that require a conscious effort on your end. And I think that the reason why it's lacking is not because people don't want to do it. It's that they don't know the right way to do it, or they don't know how to do it. And I think I think your book covers that, the Count on Able. I think it helps to bridge that gap between, okay, I know I have to be accountable. I know I have to be an effective communicator, but how? How do I get to that point?
So Prit, I just want to stop you for a second. So you just described a forced environment where people have to be something. I want to give everybody some freedom right now. You don't have to be anything. You don't need to be accountable. You don't need to have milestones. You just don't need any of that. Now, my real question is do you want to have a business that grows with you and without you?
That's a good question.
Right?
Yes.
If you do, if that's you, and this notion about being accountable is a turnoff, because, oh, by the way, the last time you probably heard that word was on the news, and someone was going to jail, or they were trying to get Donald Trump, to be accountable for something, right? Like, just know that it's a triggering concept. And, a couple of my favorite books are other processes. By the way, I don't think we told people. So Count Honorable, it's a patent pending process and method. And this book gives you the ability to implement it in your organization step by step. You can do it. Like, just read the book. It walks you through it, right? And gives you a lot of fun little stories about me, like the ones I've shared. But you get connected to why did I write this thing, right? So I came up with the term Count Honorable really by accident. Because and you'll see, some of the people that have written reviews about me think I'm a really good accountability partner, because I hold people accountable in a generous way. But I actually don't hold anybody accountable. I give people the opportunity to stand up for what they said they wanted to do by reminding them about it. I don't like put your feet to the fire, right? The problem is that most bosses get the term boss because they're bossing people around. There's 3 books I want to just mention, and I really respect the books a lot in a lot of ways, but they're written for the old way, right? So there's the Traction book by Gino Wickman, The Entrepreneur Operating System, a great system, except it's got you in the mindset of you have to hold people accountable. And I was on a podcast where the host said to me, that sounds a lot like holding someone at gunpoint. And I said, I think you're right. It really does, doesn't it?
It does. Now when you think about it.
Right. When you come at stuff from, I'm holding you accountable, that doesn't empower me to take action. It has me looking over my shoulder, wondering if I'm doing it right.
Yes.
On the other hand, Gino wrote this book about how to be a better boss. And again, another very popular book, but the concept's flawed in one way. He spends like the first part of the book talking about how respected the term boss is. Maybe that was the case in the 90s or early 2000s, but I don't want a boss.
That's true.
I want someone that looks at me like a leader and is leading, that I can follow and pick what they do so I can bring other people up as leaders. That's what I want. When you refer to someone as a boss, again, that's another restrictive, like it has me thinking micromanagement. Like, that's not a place I don't want to get bossed around. Like, I did enough bossing around in my past. I'm not doing it anymore. So, but I really respect a lot of the concepts in the books, and they're great reads, except for that one thing where I was totally triggered for a third of the book, but I still read it. And then there's Scaling Up by Vern Harnish, another great system that says you have to hold people accountable. So, it's really important that people understand being held accountable is not where it's at. Like, if you want to have a competitive advantage in the world with your business, give people a chance to be count-onable. The difference between the two is enormous, but it's only 4 letters in the word. And what it really is, Prit, is like when you're count-onable, you're comfortable to say, hey, Prit, I promise I'll be on time to the interview. I'll be engaging. I'll be vulnerable and share some stories that people would not expect to hear because they don't make me look good. But listen, I'm not doing the laundry and I'm not doing the dishes. And you're not going to penalize me for that. You're going to go find someone that does want to do those things.
Absolutely.
That's being count-onable, where I can say, I'm count-onable for this and this and this, but you cannot count on me for that. And it's empowering,
It
because
is.
one of the reasons people don't want to manage others is because they feel like managing people is like herding cats.
Mm.
It's just not possible. And I'm here to tell you that managing people is not where the fruit is. Managing promises is.
Mm. That's some really powerful stuff there, Jeff. And even as I'm thinking about it, there is a lot of toxicity when it comes to, you know, working at in an environment where the person feels that they need to micromanage or, you know, go nitpicking or hold people accountable, as you say. And when I became an entrepreneur and I had to hire independent contractors, I was definitely scared. You know, I didn't want to be that person. Even though I personally had no experience, I'd heard a lot of my friends having their bosses, you know, micromanage them and create a very toxic environment for them. So I was very conscious that I did not want to be that person for whoever I hired. But I really liked that you said it's called being count-onable instead of holding people accountable. I really liked the difference between the two. And if there is one actionable step that you can give us today so that we can start immediately to implement the count on able process and the method, what would it be?
First off, there's almost nothing new in my process. Like, I promise, you read the book and you'll say, oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah, that makes sense. So, you know, you've just got to do things with a sensible approach that's pragmatic, right? Yeah. And it's a really easy read. Like I said, you know, it's about 5 hours of your time to read the book. And you can read it 5 minutes at a time and get something every 5 minutes. So I would say, you know, just take a look at that and get that, you know, by the way, all of the tools that are listed in the book are all downloadable off of the website. You can go and download the first chapter, Grand Theft Auto, off the website. I really invite you guys to do that just to get a flavor. But the thing you get to do is you get to participate in a coaching program through the book that has you shift from thinking about the past, like the past is what I'm going to have in the future, to the past is the past. I get to have something new in the future and I get to create that. And the book is a very simple process. It's a path, right? It's your yellow brick road of how do I create a game plan, and then how do I manage a game plan, and does it make sense to get an accountability partner, or to, by the way, if you guys are interested, like, you can book a brief, you know, intro with me or someone from my team right on the website, so that you can actually look at what about this might be interesting for you and your business. But being count-onable, it's designed to have you empower other people, including your family and friends. I would say especially your family, right? And the concepts in the book that you get to implement are not hard. They're very simple. And, you know, in my lifetime, I can see like 100,000 companies using this process, and the millions of people that work for those companies that benefit. Because here's the why, right? I mentioned I'm a foster resource parent. I do that so that kids can have a safe, loving, caring environment to grow up in, so they can become great adults like you. And that's what I do by being a foster parent. But by creating count-onable as a process for the environment, what I do with that is I create an environment where parents can come home from work and they can say at the dinner table, I had a fantastic day. I love my job. And that's the mantra instead of, I hate my job. My boss sucks.
Yeah.
Right? How many people live to come home to bitch? And by the way, that happens as entrepreneurs and solopreneurs too. So just imagine you get to shift your mindset and go to this place where you own it. It's on you. And you take the responsibility and no one else does.
Such wise words, Jeff. An absolute pleasure to have you on my podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for the compliment as well. And
You're welcome. For everybody out there, I just want to say, Prit is amazing. And she's coming out with a book very soon. And I want to make sure that everyone knows that and starts sending her messages saying, Prit, what's this book? What are you writing about? How do I get an advanced copy? Right?
Absolutely.
So make sure to do that. And also just, if you're interested more in what I'm doing with Countable, the book's on Amazon. You can get it anywhere in the world. If you want more information, go to www.countonable, COUNTONABLE.com. And, I just invite you to stop being just accountable and to be countable.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jeff. And for those of you who are listening all the way up until here, thank you so much. I will catch you guys in my next podcast episode. Bye-bye.